And welcome back to the Part-Time Otaku Podcast. My name is Grant.
My name is Dave.
The second arc of Season 5 of My Hero Academia has arrived. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, this is a anime-only podcast. We have no insight the comings and goings of the manga. So no manga spoilers here. Dave, how we doing?
I'm good, man. This was, I'll say, an interesting episode. I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah. We'll save all that. So we'll pause for a sec. We'll go over this week's thumbnail. We're not using any fan art this week. We're actually just using the key art from the show. I'm not sure if it's the creator or the director of the anime or whomever it is, but still really cool stuff. Very fitting. So we went with that this week.
Another thing we should mention before we talk about this week's episode of My Hero Academia is that we've also put out our Demon Slayer Mugen Train review.
Yeah.
We've been waiting to watch this movie for a very, very long time. It only just came to North America. That's why we're a little bit late to the game, I think, along with many of you listening. So if you've seen the movie and you want to hear our discussion and review, that's also on our channel and wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And we really get down, so forewarning, we get right down into it, so spoiler warning for sure before you check that out. So, but no, it was a lot of fun, so we look forward to for everyone checking that out. So we'll jump right into the synopsis. Hawks acts strange when he meets Endeavor and his work-study students on their way to Endeavor Agency.
Cold open. I think it's like a flashback open. Maybe before we go into the scene by scene, what are your thoughts on the whole episode?
I'm still feeling the first arc or the first part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same tone is kind of there.
Yeah.
Even though we've moved away from the format of like the
class battles,
I'm still feeling it going into this.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a lot higher hopes though, just from what we like. Again, I feel like at least me, I've been so heavy on this season. It's just the episode's all over the place. It doesn't find its lane.
It feels like the last couple have had this weird transitory feel to them, where you can tell they're trying to let go of the previous arc, and they kind of had this whole thing with Midoriya's quirk, and now we're like trying to go into this new arc, and it's just sort of bumpy. I think is the word I would use, because they're trying to do a lot in this episode. They're going for some things that I don't know if they've done before, and it's just sort of a weird feel. I don't think that's too critical to say.
You can definitely feel the strain because they are. Mm-hmm. It's like you said, they are setting up all of these things, and you can kind of feel it's not coming out at the seams, but like they are stacking a lot of things up. So like I get it. It's not like before where it's just like clumsy. They didn't close out the first part super great. And you and I got into that a couple weeks ago. But like it's like anything else. There's moments that really hit, and then there's kind of stuff that lags this episode. Like almost every other episode this season, I feel, at least the first part.
Yeah, a little bit inconsistent. We do get Hawks back on screen, who I think came in pretty late at the end of season 4 and is a big fan favorite for people who read the manga. Mm-hmm. And he was pretty great at the end of season 4 as well.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him again, because I think they introduced this plot he's got going on in the pilot. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Like the pilot of this whole season. So we haven't seen him for 13 episodes.
Yeah, he definitely got the ball rolling this season for sure. Like just the whole, the whole undercover side of things, which I think that's just what we've been really wanting to see this season, and we're getting it. So that is exciting.
Yeah, it's an interesting vibe that they're going for. So he kicks off the episode talking over the phone to Dobby, who we also haven't seen, I think, since the pilot, or the premiere of this season. And it doesn't feel like a ton has changed. Like it's not like stuff's been happening off screen. It feels like we're picking right up where we left off from episode 1 of this season, and that is like more or less that Hawks is trying to get in. Dobby says he'll give him another chance because the first, quote, chance that he gave Hawks was like the Endeavor ambush with that Nomu at the end of season 4. So they're kind of rehashing conversations they had earlier this season.
It's very quick though. It's a very fleeting, like this episode, just like the Dobby and the Hawks stuff. I honestly could use a little more of that. It kind of jumped right to the next scene.
Mm-hmm.
I found just kind of that's the thing too. Like the Hawks is incredibly hard to read this episode. Like he is all over the place, and I think that's intentional.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I agree with you. I think it is intentional, but it's just sort of weird.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
I know it's strange. Like this is uncharted territory for the show.
Exactly. Like we haven't done this like double agent undercover kind of like cat and mouse thing. Like I mean, I'm sure maybe there has been in a past arc. I just can't think of it. It's just weird because so much of the episode is devoted to this arc, but it's like cut in with weird Midoriya shit.
Yeah.
So like you said, there's just a lot going on. Maybe we should get to the first reveal though, because we actually talked about this last week for episode 13 is Genist.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out, isn't he dead? Didn't he get an entire hole punched through him?
That's what we weren't sure.
That's what I thought. I was like, no, dude, that dude's dead. Like the hole in him was like.
Well, he even says too. He's like, yeah, like like you can't just heal when you have your lungs blown out of your body or taken out of your body.
Yeah, apparently you don't need those. But all right, fair enough. So Hawks finds him undercover,
waiting to reveal, and that was the thing too. He's like, why? Like, there must be more people that know about him. Like it's. Is there a reason why he's kind of tucked away to hiding away from the rest of his heroes?
Maybe just like recovery
friends,
time.
I mean? Could be,
or maybe they suspect a plot and they're gonna maybe they think there's something going on and they want to keep him as an asset kind of under wraps until shit really hits the fan.
Because he was a big deal.
He was.
He was in the top 10.
Definitely top 10. I want to say he might have been top 3 because I'm thinking, who else would it have been? It was there's Endeavor, Hawks, Genist. Before then it was All Might, but he was like up there.
Yeah,
definitely up there. So I don't know. But what do you think about the end of this scene with Genist?
Like that's the thing. This is
he like puffs out his wings and like has his feather sword.
Yeah,
and then they cut.
It's I don't like. I get this is where like it's the kind of like the cat and mouse thing, and we can't really read them because we don't know the character all that well. Like if this was. Like Midoriya, for example, like, I know it's not a good example, but like if it was a character we knew well, we would say like, oh, like he's clearly like, this is a trick or, he's doing this for a reason kind of like we don't, I think, because we kind of get later in the episode that
similar things.
I think, again, knowing what we know by the end of the episode, I think Hawks is a good guy. Yeah. I don't think it's like a double agent situation. I think he is good and he is undercover for the good guys. But this is the one thing that sticks out in the episode. It's like, but what are you doing here? Like it's this doesn't match up to your message at the end of the episode, which we'll get to. But this is one of the things that stands out to me the most of the episode is why.
Agreed, and maybe we can return to that in a bit, because then the next couple things that happens is like it sort of cuts to Hawks in a different environment, and he seems to be waiting on Dobby, right? So like the implication here is like. Dobby's told him something's going to happen at a time and a place, but Hawks has been left waiting.
Yeah, like make sure it's not Endeavor. That's like his closing line.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's a new OP around this time. This is when there's the new theme. What did you think of the new OP?
First reaction did not like it.
Funny.
I need to come. I'm gonna go back to it like every week, as the show progresses, because I was iffy on the part one as well. Like my first reaction was like, oh, this is cool, this is interesting, but I wasn't completely sold on it. I believe this was kind of like what is this? It was very out there. It was unlike anything they've had so far.
I think which
is not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's definitely new. I liked it, but I will say a big part of my liking for it was the artwork and the imagery. I don't know why. I think sometimes just change is good, right? I was pretty tired of the class battle arc and also OP.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just part of it. I'd like that. I think this one, like the color palette, might be a little bit darker. The imagery is a little bit darker. I don't know. We'll see if I like it as much for the next episode. So, TBD.
Yeah.
Then we have like this weird time skip. It's almost weird. I mean, I guess they had to establish that the students are out of dorms, right?
With security, they're really hitting that
Yeah.
home. Like, they need protection. Like,
Yeah, that it's
they're
kind of
really
like
they're really setting up the fear of something, you know, like with these pro heroes following their. Like, I know it's one of his teachers, but they're all still pro heroes.
But it's weird though, right? Because like it doesn't seem like a ton is going wrong.
Yeah.
Like they just sort of have to remind you that like it's weird out there right now. But like they haven't shown you a lot of what's making it weird out there right now, if that makes sense. Like I don't know.
It is interesting. That is one of the things I do like about this episode, or like they're slowly ramping up that there is so much behind the scenes that is clearly like people are worried about and something is going to go wrong, that like they're slowly like getting us ready. I think something big is going to happen. Like there's going to be a big like, you know, flash in the pan moment in this part of the season, because that would be, you know, this would kind of be kind of lame like looking back if that's not the case. But I think they are setting up another, you know, whether it's Shigaraki kind of tearing down a city kind of thing, like they're all going to be caught up in the middle. You know what I mean? Like there's something coming down the pipe for sure. Like I know that sounds obvious, but it's the little cool things like with needing security and all that. That's, you know, it's the League of Villains. They're up to something.
Yeah. So Midoriya's at home. He fills his mom in, who we haven't had like a scene with in a long time. So it's good that I think they take this moment to like have Midoriya's mom sort of reflect on his growth, because it's been a long time, right? I don't know how often or how long ago she was seen in the show. So that's a cool moment. You know, there's like some fun, like, you know, heartstring type stuff. Like he shows her the what was it, a postcard, birthday card, letter that Eri writes him. I'm not going to go too hard on Eri's handwriting because she's a child.
Yeah.
And then like boom, time skip. Okay, time to go to work. Midoriya's going to Endeavor's agency. So back to work studies. And then more Hawk stuff. Like I don't think there's anything we need to really examine further with the Midoriya scene, right? Like
no, I don't think so.
But then back to the Hawk stuff, and then we get another weird moment, very similar to the Genist moment. But this one's has a little bit more crammed into it. What do you think that was about? And do you think we know who the villain off screen was? The guy whose face we didn't see.
Okay, so in this moment, did you think he was a villain?
I thought so, but like
I think it's alluded to that Hawks is like meeting up with other heroes.
Interesting. See, I think the way I interpret
it's hard not to really get into this without like jumping ahead to the end of the episode.
No, I think we can. I think if anybody's listening to this, they've probably seen it, right? So what do you think it was?
Well, they're setting up that there's a faction of heroes that are evil. Was that not your takeaway from the end of the episode? Because that's the thing. I'm really
the whole coded thing. Yeah,
the coded thing to Endeavor in the book and all, like it's leading to. I don't know if this is a group, because I think it's alluding that Slide and Go might be a villain.
Yeah, I don't know. See, it's either that my takeaway is either that like Slide goes in on it, but from his expression, it seemed like whoever this guy was, he was acting as though like you better do what we tell you because Hawks is on our side. I just didn't understand what the point of that scene was.
Yeah, this is like the worst part, because like I don't know what the purpose of this was. Like I was
just yelling, "What are we doing here?" Okay, but I didn't know what to take. Okay, so one thing, let's maybe find what seems 100% true in the scene. It's Hawks is gathering intel for this guy, presumably, and maybe double presumably he's undercover while doing it.
Maybe.
Like, is this guy with the laptop a bad guy? Who's like in the what does he call it? The hero, the Liberation Army. Like, is this guy one of them?
I'm wondering if this guy is a hero. Like he's just like in control of communications. Like he mans because Hawks makes a reference at one point in the episode about the Hero Network. I'm wondering if this guy has something to do with like managing that, because like he talks about, I can track you guys, I can always know who you are, I always know what you're saying, kind of thing.
But he says something about how Hawks can penetrate deeply into the Hero Network, and that's why I thought like, oh, so you're using Hawks to collect intel because he's senior. I don't know.
Like I said, this is, you know, this is the one thing that sticks out in the episode. I just could not follow. Again, probably just one of those odd times. It just wasn't, you know. I feel like I should have held off on watching the episode, or maybe, you know, like I watched it again, like this scene specifically, and I just didn't catch it around the second time either. So
no, yeah,
anyone listening, if we're completely missing it, we're sounding like absolute morons right now. Please point it out and like, state the obvious for us.
Let us know, because I think it was just bumpy, and this is like the weird thing that made me confused coming off of the Genist scene. I was like, what's Hawks doing? I don't. And then like it's sort of like you said gets cleared up later, sorta. It doesn't super explain this scene to me, but that like we could just be off, like you said. So anyway, let us know if you guys know what the hell's going on in this particular scene. Beyond that, we go back to Midoriya and Co. They show up to meet Endeavor, who's grumpy because he doesn't get to chill with his son directly.
I love how he like calls it out. He's like, you know, I was hoping to spend this time with my son. Like, why are you guys here? You know?
Yeah.
And then Shota's just kind of like, you know, he's using the advantage of like, I don't think he wants to spend the one-on-one time with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shoto low-key used the advantage of like Midoriya and Bakugo needing placements to his benefit, which is kind of funny to think of. But
yeah, it's funny. The chemistry works right away, by the way, like between these four characters who've never been together. I mean, it's really just like the trio plus Endeavor, but still, you know. And there's also a flashback scene, which My Hero has been very fond of this season, of All Might talking to Bakugo and saying basically the same thing that you said in episode 2 of our show ago. You were like, you know, Endeavor, Bakugo, there's like some similarities there. And that's exactly what All Might says. So, you know, the fact that they've said that out loud will probably mean that there'll be like a moment between these two characters.
Some fruit will be bared from this for sure. Like,
which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like, you may as well pair them.
Yeah.
I kind of like that how different Shoto is from his dad. But you've got like a younger kid that's kind of like him.
Yeah.
And just like the juxtaposition between the two, I think the contrast works relatively well. And then right as like everybody's getting comfortable, Endeavor like kicks into gear because there's a villain downtown.
Yeah.
Great animation on that whole scene.
Yeah, just him darting off was pretty cool. I was like, oh shit, here we go. This is what we needed. This is what, you know, let's bring the plane back up to 30,000 feet in this episode. Because like going from that last scene into this, it was like, holy fuck, like where are we going?
Well,
this was completely brought it back to what we needed. Like, come on, just do some action here.
Well, this is kind of what I hoped / expected the episode to be, right? Like just like the gang meets Endeavor, like, you know, they've got like this corporate environment that we're gonna see, and like, you know, there's going to be fun chemistry between everybody. They're going to catch some villains. There'll be some cool animation. It's just that this has been like sort of interspersed with this whole double agent plot. And so as a result, this brief moment feels kind of almost forced in because it happens pretty quick. Yeah. This whole thing might be like 5 minutes in the episode, which, you know, is still like a significant piece of the episode, but still. Midoriya notices that Endeavor starts running before he even hears the explosion.
Yeah, just hero's intuition.
Yeah, and then Hawks is there, because go figure.
And I do like, you know, because they're not making Endeavor sound like a total dummy, right? Like, he deserves to be the number one hero. Like, it's not like he was just some guy that, like, was, you know, I guess he was not riding All Might's coattails, but, like, you know, he is a tremendous hero.
Yeah.
And they do show these moments of, like, why the fuck is Hawks here?
Yeah.
You know, like, he picks up that right away, and, like, and he's thinking, you know, like, I know we had talked earlier in the season about how they're really, really trying to make an effort. They're trying to whitewash like Endeavor's past a little bit. And like, I'm not saying it's completely working, but like they're just showing the good in him. They're like kind of just ignoring the bad, which I guess is a way of making him more likable. And you know, it's not that I hate to say it. It's just I think it's kind of working.
No, I think so too. Like, you know, they're showing different side of the character. They're sort of force feeding you some growth, and they gave him like one of the best moments of the previous season with like him being in the season finale. You know, so all that I think has worked. He's changed, you know, physically too. So I don't know. I think it's like a good opportunity to see more of a pretty solid character. This is around the time stuff gets weird in the episode. We're not, well, maybe not. We're not quite there yet. But this villain.
Oh yeah, I like this villain.
This was an interesting one for me. Like,
Yeah.
Did you like him? What were your thoughts on like the whole?
I thought
his whole vibe.
So, I'll rhyme off some things earlier. The quirk, I love a unique little quirk like that. It's something that is, like it's still within the general superhero-ish world, like villain world of powers.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unique that way. It's being used in a unique way as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
The old man like soothsayer vibe was kind of cool. Honestly, it reminded me of a villain or like a side character out of One Punch Man. I don't know why it just stuck out to me that way.
I can see that 100%.
Even the art style was kind of like a little more like shaded and a little more gaunt. Because My Hero is like very colorful and bright. But I don't know. I think the aesthetic of him was cool. The divine messaging, I'm not sure if that's like a red herring. Like if he's just kind of like a nut and a villain or whatever, or if like he actually is trying to like warn people, or if he's like truly seeing something. Part. You know what I mean?
It's not a red herring.
Yeah, but like, what about you? Did you like it?
Yeah, no, I did. I thought it was like, I just felt like maybe it's just been a while since we've had this kind of thing. But I was like, yeah, there's a lot going on. Like the animation's cool, the quirk is cool. It gives Endeavor a dope moment. There's like a little twist when he tries to ambush Endeavor. The divine like stuff he's spouting off, like the whole that stuff, all the nonsense. I was like, it'd be so typical of the show to like have it not be nonsense. Like it all matters later. But yeah, like we haven't seen like something like that in a little while, I don't think. I like that he tries to lure Endeavor into a trap.
Yeah.
And I love that.
That caught me by surprise. Like, I know they had kind of teased it, but the fact that they tried was like, oh, shit.
And I loved that the UA students, I loved that our boys were ready.
Yeah.
Like, they hadn't really missed a beat, and that all three of them were there, but Hawks gets there first. I was kind of cool with that, too. I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting thing to do.
I think that's when it leads into Endeavor kind of being like, oh, like, why is he here?
Exactly. I was hoping, I think he says, like, I told them to tell me if Hawks was going to be around. So I think like you said, he's he's astute, right? He knows what's going on. And then this is like the whole last arc of the last 5 minutes of the episode is this very weird ending sequence. Like it doesn't like all wrap up here, but it's this whole Hawks scene with Endeavor, with the kids, with the speaking in code. What did you think of that whole thing?
It was good. Like it's weird because I found it ironic that it was intentionally confusing because Hawks was trying to talk in code, and then Hawks had to break it down and be like, like, oh, hopefully like he figures it out and like he has like an inner monologue, right? Of like, oh, hopefully he checks this out and he reads this and it's like, oh yeah, like. Obviously, like it's just funny that like if you look at it just from the outside, it is confusing, and then like the character has to kind of explain it to the audience a little bit. So, but like I liked it, and just Midoriya being like, oh, and the jokes of them like, oh wow, he must like really like that book, like that was good. It was pretty good. But like what it ends up being this whole meta liberation war, like it's like, oh fuck, what is this like?
Yeah, it just felt like this really windy road to get to the point, and like it's just and I'm not intentionally being critical here. It's just like this show does so many things well. We talked about it on the Demon Slayer review, which if you're listening you should listen to that.
Check it.
We talked about how like one of their biggest strengths is like lifting characters in and out of threads. They can make you fall in love with a character in a 20-minute episode. It's great. In this moment, I wasn't sitting there being like, and in this whole episode, I was like, okay, the show has a ton of strengths, but like mystery and like maybe a little bit of nuance, it doesn't currently seem to be one of them. I was like, I don't know why we decided to do it this way. Like they just could have done it more effectively. They could have planted something earlier in the episode that sort of suggests that Hawks like wants to speak in code without having to do like the literal zooming in on the text. Like it's just weird.
And like they really hit home that he knows he's being watched, and that kind of goes back to our question earlier about whether is it Dobby or someone that's watching him, or is it this unknown character who honestly kind of looked like Shigaraki in the part 2, the body. I'm wondering if that's not Shigaraki.
Interesting. The voice seemed different, but you never know. That could easily be a misnomer. Yeah, and we did just see Shigaraki last episode, so maybe... I mean, Shigaraki...
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that might not be Shigaraki.
Oh, you're saying, it could be a misdirect, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just thought, like, the weird, windy shit, that was weird to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I like the idea, though. Like, the core idea that, like, maybe... there's a faction on the inside, and they're dangerous, and there's a doomsday clock, and we have to uncover the plot. I'm super down for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would take that arc over the class battles arc every day of the week. Just, like, how we got there, this was just, like, a weird kind of convoluted, like, what are we doing here kind of moment.
So, if there's heroes who are potentially villains... That adds a lot of credence to, like, confirmed good heroes having to watch out for the students. Because the student wouldn't know. They see a pro hero coming their way. They would think to trust them.
I like that. See? That's, like, that's interesting.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the scattered through the episode, there's stuff that just kind of, like, we could be forcing the puzzle pieces together a little bit there. But, I don't know. There's great stuff in this episode. It's...
Little pieces, yeah. So, Endeavor cracks the code. He alongside the audience, right? Like, the enemy is liberation is the quote, and the enemy is the Liberation Army. Their numbers are over 100,000. 4 months until action.
That's why I'm thinking it's heroes.
Yeah,
because there's like en masse, like there's like because they've hit it. There's enough heroes, but there's still. Was it last episode or the one before it where they're hitting home? Or it was like the news. I think the Bakugo and Shoto interview. The reporter kind of hits home.
Things are a little tenuous.
Well, there's tenuous, but there's never been more heroes. But we're still like cracking down.
Yeah,
they feel like they need more. So I think this kind of maybe it's a tease to that. Then maybe that's why I'm thinking it might be evil heroes potentially. Yeah,
there is one thing, and I could be totally wrong, but I like. Just in case I'm not, I want to lay it down here. When they're in Endeavor's agency, the students, they are all sort of talking about just how corporate Endeavor's environment is. And there's one guy being like, "Oh, it's busy here," and like he totally looked like twice, but like as though he was wrapped up in bandages, and he kind of sounded the same. It could be a complete misdirect. It could be nothing at all. But yeah, they're talking to a guy towards the end of the episode, the kids are, that looks like Twice. But like the silhouette of Twice, because he's wrapped up in bandages, I don't know. That could be nothing at all. After, Endeavor kind of cracks the code, it's the new ending theme. And yeah, that's basically the episode.
Weird one.
Different one.
They've been getting weird.
They're getting weird. I think it might just be tricky pivoting to a new arc, but I think I could speak for you as well when I say, but we're both very happy for a new arc.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one in particular seems interesting, so I'm excited to see where it goes.
The reason I'm not kind of like still, feeling elements from the first part is because, there is clearly a lot to chew on. That they got to set up. Like, it's not like before where, everything's spread out and it feels like they're just trying to like fill the time in between. Like, I think there's so much they need to get out of the way, and it's hard to gracefully like make one go from to go from one to the other. So I'm hoping like maybe another 2 episodes of this, and that'll kind of solve itself. And then when the plot is thickening, but the plot is present and we're moving forward, it'll be a little easier to understand. So I'm a little rejuvenated from where we were, at least a little bit.
I think so too. I think one thing that we were talking about pretty reliably throughout the previous arc was give me all the League of Villains stuff, give me all of the All for One and One for All stuff, and it seems like those things are well on the way. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes.
Yeah.
I think that probably wraps up this episode. A reminder for our listeners, It seems like My Hero is taking a break or a 1-week hiatus next week.
I think a lot of shows are taking a break.
Yeah.
I think there's some event on the 5th.
Yeah, there's a bunch of anime
Or
conference.
on the 3rd, sorry.
Yeah. So if you don't see a My Hero episode from us, then that is why. However, fear not, we will still do the post show, which is a good time to tell you about that. If you haven't listened to it, you certainly should. It's just Grant and I talking about what else we're watching that week, anime and not anime, and just current shows we're watching. A lot of it is pretty anime centric. For example, we talk about the Loki episodes because that's running right now week to week. And all kinds of fun stuff like that, and anime news, entertainment stuff. So definitely check that out if you haven't. I don't think there's anything else.
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you guys for listening. Follow us, do all the social media related things that you like to do on social media. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.